got some bits and pieces show and tell today. I'll be doing some other projects later on, but first of all I bought myself a spray mist device, yet to be tested. I only just got it. This has a single valve type, so this basically, the more air runs through, the more Venturi effect's going to happen, and the more it'll suck your liquid up out of your container and pop it out through the hose, nozzle at the end. I've got a new fitting to put on my air hose. The one I've got there is leaking a bit. I like using these clamps here, which are the crimp type. Basically you use a tool like this, crimp it onto the hose, or you can use side cutters. I tend to prefer to use these in nips, I think they call them, concrete nippers, for doing that. I've also got some hose here somewhere that I received, nice and bright, so that should be able to all go together, and we'll try it and see if it works. Also, what have I got? So let's move this out of the way. Got myself a handy burrer. I found you do a few holes and you need to just put a little, take the burrs out of them, not necessarily countersink them, but just take the sharp edges off. It can be a pain to try and line it up perfectly, you know, back into your drill press or, you know, into your milling machine, trying to hold it by hand and that sort of thing. I just thought, well, these are pretty handy, so I got myself one of those. This one's a little bit different, in which you can also extend it. Don't know why you'd really want to do that, but I suppose you can. So that's this one, handy burrer. Talked about in my other videos with these inserts that I'm using a triangle style one. I'm not very happy with the way, not that they're not working fine, because they are. It's just if I want to put a chamfer on the end of a part that I'm working on, the triangle, I have to actually use the compound to make the little chamfer. Whereas with these, it's easy enough just to spin the tool around a little bit in the holder, and then you can run that against your part to cause your chamfer. I thought I was ordering a WMNG. It looks the same to me. I'm only new at this, but this is actually a WWLNR. I think the extra W is maybe how it holds the tool down. Don't know. It's obviously Chinese. Amazingly, I picked up this holder, packet of inserts. I think it was a 38 Australian dollars. I decided to get some milling end mills, a couple that I didn't have. One of my videos I had to do a deep slot, and it was a bit touch and go as into whether I could even get enough of the bit to hang out of the collet and still be held. So I've got a 6mm deeper one here, but it does have, looks like an 8mm shank, whereas the one I was using was 6mm all the way, and I had to do a 35mm deep cut. So this technically wouldn't work too well, obviously. Only go down to there, maybe 25mm inch deep. But anyway, that gives me that option with that guy. And then I got myself an 8mm one, 4 flute, designed mainly for steels. And conversely, the price difference between these and these, 38 Australian dollars, free shipping. I got this through my work, which we buy these things at cost price. So this little lot here together cost me, would be around about $120 for both of those. Quality, made in New Zealand, I believe, or Australia, one of the two. It's not telling me here. Where I got the New Zealand part from, probably, is these guys. I picked up some high-speed steel tooling, or it's not really tooling, blanks. These little guys here. I purchased myself a D-bit grinder not that long ago, and I didn't have any blanks to play with it. And, you know, even trying to look for blanks on eBay, the split ones, the ones that have already had the half split down this end, or you know, both ends would be really nice. I haven't been able to find any, you know, locally-ish. So I bought them through my work. They're not so bad. They'll cost me about $6, $7 each. High-speed steel. Trying to find carbide is even more difficult. It seems to be I can get it out of China, but no one else, at least on eBay, is putting any locally made carbide. I could ring around, I suppose, the actual physical places, but just haven't had time with work. Okay, so that's the end of the show and tell bit. Let's fix this hose up. This guy here, I must have had that more than 25 years. I'd say it's just about had the biscuit, which is leaking. These can be a bit difficult to get off, these clamps, but I do really like them because you clamp them up once and they're on. So I have to probably cut. I should have had a knife here to help do it. And my Nipex side cutters have certainly seen better days. Come on, rightio, so he's out. Let's cut him off there. It's old hose too, this is pretty tight and stiff, like me, getting old and stiff. Right, you clamp on. Slide that guy up in there. Try not to pop my shoulder out while I'm doing this. Rightio. Now, you could either use side cutters or end nips. What I like to do is go half, press it halfway on the first side, go to the second side, squeeze him all the way down. They would be easier if these had longer handles. Oh, gee whiz. Then you come back to this guy. Making this look harder than it is. Oh, yes. Okay. Here's to another 25 years. Now, let's bin that. Right. So, this little baby here. So if everything's gone correctly, this 8mm hose should pop in there. And I call these suicide fittings. I do not know what their proper term is. I should, but I don't. Yeah, basically pop them in there and they don't come back out unless you push down the little doovalaki to pull them back out. So let's not push down the doovalaki and push it in. Right. Then on the other end, come on now. Got another one. Fancy that. And a little adapter. So I do run Ryco, we call these fittings. Nido is the seems to be the go nowadays. It does have a bigger hole in the centre of it, bigger airflow. I'm not doing sandblasting or anything like that in my workshop that requires masses of air. A bit of air duster stuff, the tool changer on my milling machine. That's about it. Blowing out mowers after being used, that sort of thing. So doesn't have to have. I'm not changing all my fittings just for that. So little adapter here, that's 1/8 BSP, 1/4 BSP. I put some thread tape on there, tighten everything up, and I might even give this a bit of a try with some water. I haven't got the fluid yet. I've got to get that in, got to order it in, and from one of my suppliers, and give it a go. I do have flood coolant on my milling machine, but it makes a hell of a mess. Sometimes it'll run off the part on the floor, but a lot of cleanup. I do have issues with rust as I live close to the sea, so I thought possibly this might work a bit better if I can get away with it. The only difference is, I suppose, you're misting a water application with oil all over the place, but I don't know. I thought it was worth a try. And what did this cost me? Once again, China's finest, but it came from a local source, but you know, that's what it's made. Oh, 20 bucks, I'm thinking. The hose, oh, 10-ish, 12. Suicide fittings, well, this one here I scummed from work, and I bought those ones. They were, I don't know, 4 bucks. So nothing ventured, nothing gained. I thought I'd give it a go. Let's assemble this a little bit further. I've got some thread tape here. Okay, whoop-de-doo thread tape. Who hasn't put that on before? Well, maybe someone hasn't. Okay, so how I do it, and I've always remembered to do it, is if you're holding the part that you're trying to do in your right hand, because it's a right hand thread, and you start with the tape on the top, it's going to be right. That way, when you are putting the tape, screwing the parts together, the tape itself is being wound around the actual body instead of trying to unwind. If the tape was wound in the other direction, in which this little doodad part was over the top, as you were trying to wind this in, it can catch the tape and unwind it. So if I had a left hand thread and you were to hold the part, which I'm not used to doing, hold the part in the left hand, same thing, and wound it that way, then that would be good for a left hand thread. Most of us don't play with left hand threads, so hold it in your right hand. I discovered this reasonably early on when you mucking around. It works for all sorts of fittings, obviously, agricultural fittings, agricultural piping stuff. That's how I do it, that's how I always remember. Hold it in your right hand and wind it from the top, a little bit away from you, and then snap him off. Now all we have to do is tighten him up, get the shifter and spanner onto it, and then that should be a good airtight fitting. Right, I've got my new fitting in my airline. I've got our now thread taped union adapters here. All I need to do, and this could be funny if the whole thing goes wrong, I've shut the valve on this, and I've got to find the end of my hose, put the old suicide fitting to work into there. It's all good, the other one's all good. So pop this into here, nothing should be coming out, it should just be nice and silent. And look at that, flat out straight away. So someone doesn't know what they're doing. Air coming from everywhere, don't know. Let's see if we can calm this down. No. So the only way to calm this down would be to change the regulator pressure. That's going to be a pain in the bum. Regulate it. I'm going to have to buy another, put another regulator in. Let's just cut this up. So all that this needle does is control the fluid. I need to control the air flow or air pressure from this line. So I'm just going to calm down the regulated side of things. Unfortunately, it's at the other end of my workshop, next to the compressor. I might have to install another regulator nearby to the milling machine where I can adjust pressure just for that. Yes, so that was an unforeseen issue. I thought it might have just controlled the air from here, and the more the air came on, the more the liquid was drawn through. Obviously, it just gets full air, and then this just needle valves down into the flow of coolant. Probably a better way, I suppose. Yeah, just means it's less convenient for me because I don't have a regulator mounted near my milling machine. It's at the compressor, which is not next door. Well, figuratively it is, but okay, let's calm it down and have another look at it. Right, so I've got a container that's got a little bit of water in it with some food colouring, so you may see it come down the tube. At the moment this should have no, feels like there is air coming from somewhere else too, so say that's leaking there. We'll have to fix that. Let's undo see if we're getting any venturi. So oh, here we go. It's coming. See it. So let's just slow it down a bit. Oh, there we go. It's quite effective, really. Now, because the bottle is higher than the actual hose, the nozzle, probably, you see it, see if I can calm it down a little bit. Yes, I'm probably getting a siphon, that's what I'm trying to spit out. Yeah, it might be getting a siphon because the bottle is higher. Now it's still spitting it out, but I've got this pretty closed, so it might be just liquid that's left in it. If I was to drop this down, yes, so we had a siphon happening. So if we make it level, not easy to try and do with one hand, fighting me all the way. What I'm doing is opening the needle valve. I'm trying to do it. There's a little bit coming out still. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So basically, you just, I'd say when I set this up, you do need to have the bottle pretty close to the same level as the unit, or maybe a smidgen below. I reckon if it's higher than, you'll end up with a siphon and it'll end up running all by itself. Anyway, that was a good little test. And now the bottle is higher, and now it's going like all blazes. And here's a siphon.